few years ago, I broke up with my boyfriend Rich. I was feeling super lonely at the time and decided I needed more friends. And for reference, I was a 17-year-old female at the time. Well, I started adding people on Snapchat like crazy. Like anyone who was recommended to me, I would add them. My low self-esteem and lack of confidence led me to do this. Pretty soon, I was Snapchatting with about 15 different people a day. However, there was this one person with no picture or emoji on their profile who was snapping me. He said his name was Colin, and he lived nearby. Me, being open to meet new friends, stupidly told him where I lived. That's when he told me he was a 45-year-old man. He sent a snap of himself, and I'll be as nice as possible, but he was very unflattering to look at. Once I saw this, I told him I'm too young for him, and that we should stop talking. He left me alone, and I thought the situation was over with. Well, on a Friday night, I had some of my girlfriends come over. We were just playing video games and eating pizza in my basement when Colin sent me a snap. It was a picture of a black screen, and the message asked what I was doing. I opened the Snapchat but didn't respond. Minutes later, he sent another one. All it said was, "What are you guys all doing?" This was alarming because how would he know I was with other people? I told him to please stop snapping me or I will get my dad involved. What he sent back was disturbing. He said, "My dad won't be able to protect me from what he's going to do." Just then, we heard a loud bang on my basement door. The doorknob started turning and twisting like crazy. All of my friends were asking who that was. I didn't have time to explain and ran upstairs to get my dad. He came back down with his gun. When he opened the door, no one was there. I had to embarrassingly explain to my dad who I thought it was and why they knew where I lived. All my friends had to go home and I was to be grounded for a week. The even creepier part was, as I laid in bed that night upset with myself, I got another Snapchat from Colin. It was just a picture of the side of my house where my bedroom was. The message said, "Sleep tight, my angel." I didn't respond and just blocked him. I guess the lesson of the story is, don't be an idiot like I was, and give your location out to strangers. I'm seriously lucky to be alive. He hasn't bothered me since. Last year, I was at this house party. It was at my friend Courtney's house and everyone from school was there. The only reason I went was to get my mind off my ex-boyfriend, Jake. We had recently split up and I needed a distraction. I was snapping away, trying to make it seem like I was having more fun than I really was. Yes, I'm one of those kinds of girls. As I was talking with some friends, I saw I received a Snapchat. It was from my ex. I almost didn't open it because I didn't want my night to be ruined, but I opened it anyway. It was a picture of the house I was in from outside. The text over it read, "I see you." Now, Jake wasn't a crazy or creepy guy. We only broke up because we started to become distant. But this snap was pretty creepy and not like him at all. At first I thought, how did he find me? I hadn't told him where I was going. I was wondering this when I received another snap from Jake. This one was a picture of the front door. The text over it read, "Let me in." I tried to play it cool. I didn't reply, turning my attention back to the party, pretending to laugh with friends while stealing glances at every window and door. But the snaps kept coming. They were from different angles of the house. The messages varied from, "Talk to me," and "Why are you ignoring me?" Then the final straw from me was when I got a snap of me with my back to the camera. The text said, "You look so good in that outfit." I scanned the party. There were literally over 60 people there, but I couldn't find Jake anywhere. I was so freaked out at this point, I decided to grab my friend who I came with and told her we need to leave. The whole way driving home, I kept thinking that Jake was following me. When I finally got home, I found out something disturbing. My parents were friends with Jake's parents, and they were told Jake was in a car accident during the same time I was at the party. He was at the hospital, but he was okay, just banged up a bit. But the weirdest part was, Jake was driving over to the party because he said he received a Snapchat from me saying to come meet me there. I never sent a Snapchat to him. And if he was in a car accident on the way over, how in the world did I receive all those snaps from him? Jake and I talked about this after he was let out of the hospital, and neither of us have an explanation. A few months ago, I had this random girl add me on Snapchat. She had a normal-looking Bitmoji and was fairly new to Snapchat. Her Snap score was only about 400 or 500. I accepted the request since I could always use some more friends and some more streaks. She almost immediately texted me, despite the request being about 10 hours old when I first saw it. She texted me, "Hey handsome, what's up?" I was a bit confused by this, as she had never seen a picture of me yet, and Bitmojis aren't necessarily accurate. I just replied, "Hey," and the conversation continued on as normal for about 10 minutes. Eventually she sent me a picture of herself. I was shocked by it, as she looked exactly like one of my girlfriend's friends that I had met on a night out one time. I simply dismissed it as being coincidental. People often have someone who looks similar to themselves. She requested a picture of myself, and I just sent her a simple selfie of me. Again, she referred to me as being handsome, but it wasn't as weird this time, because now she had actually seen me. I just thought of it as her being nice. But then, she started flirting with me, even after I brought up the fact that I had a girlfriend. She would say stuff like, "I wish you were single. You seem so mature and handsome." She even started saying sexually explicit things with some of her compliments. Out of nowhere, she sends me 2 more selfies of her. This time, they were 2 pictures of other women I had only met once or twice in my life. One of them was my girlfriend's other friend, and another was an old classmate of mine from 8th grade. At this point, I figured this was my girlfriend, trying to test me or some dumb shit. I started saying back, "Nice try, Heather. You should know I would never cheat on you. Heather being my girlfriend's name." After I said this, she sent me a picture of yet another girl I hardly knew and said, "Who the fuck is Heather?" Freaked out a bit now, I asked who this really was. She got really pissy with me, saying how every new person she meets accuses her of being a catfish because she always looks like somebody they know. I asked her if she had more pictures of herself just to see if I'm not losing my mind. She sends me 5 more, each of yet another girl I knew. This time, some of them were a bit closer to me. I asked her where she got the pictures from, and she was still insistent of them being of her and promising she isn't a catfish. After about 10 minutes of me pressuring the catfish into giving herself up, she sent me a heart-chilling snap. It was a picture of the front of my old house, where I moved away from about 5 years before this incident. It was taken at the same time of day as this conversation was happening, so I assumed she had taken it at that very moment. I now knew it couldn't be my girlfriend just being creepy, as we weren't dating when I lived there, nor did she ever know about me living there. I figured it was a friend of mine just playing some sick prank with an alt account, but some of the photos they used were of girls that they didn't know about my acquaintances with. She followed it up with several pictures of another girl. This time they weren't just normal selfies or group photos. They were candid shots of nobody other than my girlfriend. Some of them were of her sitting at stoplights in her car. Others were of her walking into the school we go to. My heart dropped. I blocked the person immediately and phoned my girlfriend to tell her of the situation. She assured me that it wasn't her or one of her friends doing some kind of prank or loyalty test, and that she didn't know somebody had been taking photos of her. I haven't been added by anyone similar of nature or heard from that account ever again. I still have no idea who was actually behind it. My friends that I or Heather still had contact with have since privated their Instagram accounts, which is where the pictures the account sent me came from. And my girlfriend and I have disabled our snap maps to everyone, including our close friends. I still want to believe this was just some sick prank from one of my best friends or something, and not just some genuinely creepy person who is stalking me and my girlfriend. Back in June, my best friend Mark and I got invited to one of our other good friends' birthday parties. Unfortunately for me, I had to work that night and wasn't able to go. However, afterward, Mark asked if I'd be able to pick him up, and then he'd buy me food. I agreed because I would never say no to free food. The party took place at a country club type place in the city. I was kind of bummed that I had to work, because I kept receiving Snapchats from Mark and how much fun they were having. Apparently there was a DJ and everything. When I finally got off work around 10:30 that night, I received a Snapchat from Mark saying he was ready for me to come pick him up. We mainly communicated through the text chat on Snapchat. I told him I was on the way and asked him where to pick him up. He then sent me his location on the Snap map, and I could tell the general area he was in. I asked him for a specific address, but he just said to follow his Snapchat location. This pissed me off a bit, but I drove in that direction anyway. As I was driving over, I reached Mark's location on the Snap map, but it was in what seemed to be an old rundown restaurant, not the bumping country club I was getting snaps about. I told Mark I was there, and he said he would be out in a minute. Then he sent me a snap saying he couldn't find me and asked me to get out of my car. I was perplexed by Mark's strange behavior, but complied, parking my car and stepping out. As I called out for Mark, I noticed 3 shadowy figures emerging from the darkness of the nearby building. They started running straight for me, their faces obscured by the dim light. Alarmed, I rushed back inside my car and locked the doors just in time before the men reached me. All 3 of them attempted to open my car doors while shouting incoherently. I accelerated away as fast as I could, my heart pounding. I drove all the way home, shaken to the core. I contacted a few of my other friends who'd been with Mark that night. To my horror, they revealed that Mark had lost his phone at the country club. Someone must have taken it, and I realized I had been communicating with an impostor posing as Mark. Terrified, I went to the police and recounted the attack. Mark's phone was discovered cracked and discarded in a dumpster a week later. Mark got a new phone, but the identity of the men who took it and chased after me is still unknown. I'm a freshman in college. This happened at the beginning of the fall semester. Like most people my age, I use Snapchat to communicate with my friends. I don't really get too many friend requests on there unless I personally know them and add them myself. So when the start of the fall semester began, I found it very odd that I was getting loads of requests on Snapchat from new people. I quickly decided that these weren't actually people adding me, mostly like just bots. I would get a bot adding me almost once or twice a day, and it would always be a male. They would all be generic names like Alex or Rob. More often than not, they would always send some sort of spam message with a link. I was smart enough to never click on the links and would have to block these messages daily. Then one weekend, I was added on Snap by the name of Derek. Again, this was more than likely another bot. When I clicked their account, there was a 0 Snap score, and it looked like it was just recently made. After that, I deleted them and just moved on with my day. But shortly after that, I received a snap from Derek. It was a message. I expected it to be some spam link like always, but it wasn't. It was actually pretty weird. It said something like, "I saw you walking to class today. You looked good." They also said they've noticed me for some time now and have developed a crush on me. This actually prompted me to respond. I asked who this was and how they got my Snapchat. They only responded saying he had a crush on me and loved the way I looked. I was pretty freaked out by this. I was a pretty introverted girl and didn't have too many friends on campus. I decided to ask the friends I had there if they recognized this guy from Snapchat. They all said no and told me not to worry about it. It's probably nothing. Shortly after, I got another snap message from Derek. It was basically saying how he wanted me to have his children and how beautiful I would look in a wedding dress. I asked again who this was, but they ignored me. I decided it would be best just to block him. I thought this worked, until later that day, I saw I was added by another account. It was another Derek account, but with numbers included. They sent me the same message again, saying they wanted me to have their kids. I immediately blocked the account. Now I was starting to get paranoid. Everywhere I would go on campus, I was worried that I was being watched or followed. When I was in my classes, I would wonder if Derek was another student near me, or when I would study in the library, I would look around and see if anyone was watching me. About a week went by when I was added again by another account. Yes, the name was Derek with random numbers. When I looked, they sent a snap saying, "I'm a stupid dumb bitch who deserves to die and burn in hell." He also said he knows my whole schedule and which dorm is mine. I immediately blocked the account. I also went to my settings and was able to change them so no one could send me snaps unless I added them back. For the rest of the fall semester, I was paranoid. I didn't get added by any more people or bots. Nothing has happened since, but I just wonder why or who would do this in the first place.